Good evening, everyone. I'm the Reverend Mayoral, and I have the honor of being the senior pastor here at the First Congregational Church of Norwalk Green. Some of you may know we had a bit of turnover for a while, and I was here dating them for 3 years and was just installed as a permanent pastor. So I'm really excited tonight to be here with you and for all of the community folks to come together. This is really like being at home for this church. This church was always a beacon in the community and connected with the community. And some of you may know that congregational churches historically called themselves meeting houses because in New England, we were the places on the green in communities where people met, where governance happened, and things happened in the community. So I'm excited that we have opened our doors for the community tonight, and I think that it will be an informative evening and will be a blessing to all. So my prayer is that this is phenomenal, that we learn a lot, that we're here in respect for each other no matter what we believe or who we're voting for, and that we come away from this going forward to have votes in the next couple of weeks that will shape our community for the future. All right? Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Tamara. And thank you, everyone, for coming this evening. My name is Brad Craighead, and I'm with the Norwalk Green Association. I just want to thank Tamara for opening up the church in this amazing space. Next Sunday, in fact, from 5 until 6:30. I just want to introduce Mark Burns, our moderator from the Norwalk, and to thank him and his team for all this hard work. And then, of course, the neighborhood associations. We have Anthony Pavia. Anthony, why don't you raise your hand? City Hall Neighborhood Association. Diane Cece from the East Norwalk Neighborhood Association. And then Jason Milligan and Greer from Wall Street Neighborhood Association. So thank you for co-hosting this event. We hope to do it again the next, 2 years from now. And then, of course, thank you to all the candidates for agreeing to this and making this a successful evening. Just a little background, I'm going to be brief. We have all been allocated 2 minutes, so I'm going to try and stick to it. Norwalk Green Association was founded in 2017-18. We defined our geographic footprint as 5 to 10 minutes walking distance from the center of the green. That takes you over to basically the Norwalk River in Wall Street. It's almost like a Venn diagram overlap down to Buckingham and the Chamber of Commerce on East Avenue, which is where Anthony picks up with his neighborhood association, up to George Avenue on the hill in the east of this location, and then north up to Cannon Street. So in terms of our key stakeholders, what a surprise, one of our key stakeholders in the association is First Congregational Church, also St. Paul's. We have Mill Hill Historic Park, owned by the Norwalk Historical Society, and then the other 2 organizations that we worked with over the years are Human Services Council and then Congregation Bethel and East Avenue. So in terms of events, our signature event has really become the Earth Day Festival on the Green, which was always held on the first Saturday after Earth Day. 2 years ago, we had upwards of 1,500 people. It's a fabulous event. Our partners have become the City of Norwalk, the First Taxing District, and then the Norwalk Land Trust. Just quickly, in terms of kind of our mission statement and what's important to us as an association, it's really about building community, and this is exactly what we seek to achieve: is get turnout of people, let us know what's important to you, and we'll help you get those messages to the candidates and other people in government and other interested parties. The buzzwords that are always coming up for us in terms of an association, a lot of it has to do with the location of where we are and the history of the area: walkability, pedestrian safety, mobility, connectivity. When I say connectivity, I really mean connecting to Wall Street. What can we do to connect this neighborhood and the other East Avenue neighborhoods to each other and to Wall Street in a safe way? And then I guess the last thing that I just wanted to mention quickly, guess the last thing I wanted to mention quickly is O&G. Thank you. I have 30 seconds. Thank you, Blair. Last thing I want to mention is O&G, and I do hope the candidates address this directly. To me, this is the elephant in the room with this neighborhood and a lot of Norwalk. Thankfully, many of you helped participate a couple of years ago in persuading, so to speak, O&G to withdraw their application. They're going to come back. We want to be ready. We need a strategy, and I hope that's the questions addressed. Thanks for letting me kick this off. Yeah.
Hi, good evening. I'm used to talking to middle schoolers, so this is going to be interesting. My name is Anthony Pavia. I am one of the members of the Civic-minded Neighborhood Association. We were recently reformed about 3 years ago by several community members within this neighborhood. We have a board member here tonight, V. Cole. You can raise your hand. I know you're somewhere right there. We also have a couple board members who are watching via the live feed. We reformed a couple of years ago after the DOT started a project on the exit 16 off-ramp that negatively impacted the Hendricks Avenue area. And so, based off of that advocacy, and what we found to be missing connections between our neighborhood and the greater city at large, a group of us got together to try and advocate for our neighborhood. As Brad tried to point out for his association, we are roughly constructed of 95, at exit 16, over to about the Green, up to George Avenue, and then all the way down to the Norwalk River. I was given a history lesson by Diane Cece that said we were actually at one point part of the East Norwalk Neighborhood Association, but they sort of spun off about a decade and a half ago. And so we're trying to again advocate for our part of the Norwalk, which we think is the best part of Norwalk. So happy to be here. Thank you to the candidates for taking the time, as well as for all of you coming down here tonight. And also, Reverend, thank you for letting me choose this beautiful building. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Diane Cece, and I'm with the board of the East Norwalk Neighborhood Association. We represent East Norwalk south of I-95. Our organization has been active for over 22 years. Our mission statement is to foster and preserve the residential character, natural and historic resources, and the quality of life in the East Norwalk community. And most importantly, to encourage residents of East Norwalk to actively participate in achieving this purpose. We do have a board member here, Sarah Hunter somewhere. I guess Sarah's raising her hand, and a couple of other board members watching on Zoom as well. In my role as board president, my own hobbies include reading traffic studies, decoding zoning regulations, and politely asking for transparency. A lot. We're thrilled to co-host this forum with our fellow neighborhood associations. Together we represent the people who actually live where government policies land. Having hosted many of these forums, we're happy to see the crowd here tonight. I'm really impressed with how many people showed up and didn't just come out for snacks, which is usual. Seriously, I want to say tonight isn't just about candidates, it's about our community. Government usually works better when the people who live here don't just watch on the sidelines and get actively informed and involved. So thank you for being here. And I also want to say thank you, of course, to Nancy on Norwalk staff, to the board, to Mark Burns, our moderator for the evening, to Reverend Moreland, and the volunteers from First Congregational Church, and to the candidates, of course. And especially to all of you, that even on a Sunday evening, we can still have civic engagement be alive and well in Norwalk. Thank you.
Good evening, everybody. Jason Mulligan with the Wall Street Neighborhood Association Board. Other board members, Mayor Fredericks, our president, Mark Allen, and we're pleased that so many people show up. Hopefully you've appreciated some of the changes in Wall Street, and there's lots to see and do down there. The Boston, as we call ourselves, was formed, we're in our 9th year, I believe. We came together over some causes and would like transparency, and we are a apolitical organization, meaning if the board had any disagreement whatsoever, and it didn't specifically have something to do with Wall Street, it was not a topic for the association. So that's allowed us to have extreme diversity of thought and interests in political parties, and just advocate for what's happening on Wall Street. So the mission we came up with 9 years ago, and we still stick with, is to create a sustained, clean, friendly, inviting neighborhood that attracts residents, businesses, and visitors. We believe that it takes a village to raise a neighborhood, and together we can create a vibrant future for the community we love. We are Wall Street CT, open for business. And one of the things we love, and most of the people who live and work in the neighborhood, which several of our board members do, and increasingly more people in the neighborhood do. So we're happy about that, and we very much appreciate the tone and tenor that these 4 candidates have put forward in this election campaign. I hope it stays that way. And I really appreciate all of their availability and willingness to do events like this. So regardless of who wins, Wall Street people and the Wall Street Neighborhood Association will be happy to work with you, and much success to you all.
I'm Mark Burns, president of the board of Nancy on Norwalk, and I appreciate that the organizations invited us to take part in this debate forum, Q&A/forum. Thanks to Reverend Moreland and the organization, thank you for hosting. Tonight's questions were submitted by residents of the neighborhoods that sponsor this event, as well as readers of Nancy on Norwalk. We got actually enough questions to fill at least 6 hours of Q&A. So, and what I tried to do developing a list of questions to ask tonight was to really focus not so much on the topics that have been discussed in all of the previous debates, forums, whatever, but to really focus on neighborhood-specific questions. So, given the 50 or 60 questions that came in, if you submitted a question and you don't hear it tonight and you don't get an answer tonight, I apologize, but it's a lot. And we will be publishing the questions without personal identification on Nancy on Norwalk, and we'll share it with the candidates and also with the association. So you have an opportunity for what you've asked about, what your concerns are, to be in front of the candidates as well. As I said, our time is limited and we have a lot of questions even so please hold applause to the end and no cheering or booing or noises or demonstrations in between. There's a Zoom of the debate going on, so we'll be able to watch later. The flow for tonight is that the candidates are not going to do opening statements, but they will have 2 minutes at the end each to give a closing statement. They've drawn numbers to determine the order of questioning, and the order is from my right to left. Eric, Barbara, John, and Vinny will be the first question. That's the first question order. We'll rotate as we go. At the end, the reverse order will be the order of the final statement, so you can get the numbers. The timers will have green, red, and yellow cards, a minute. Did I say how long they have? They'll have 2 minutes to answer each question, with the possibility of 1 minute rebuttal if they choose. And the cards will be green for 1 minute left, yellow for 30 seconds, and red for a repeat about. I think you still have coffee and whatnot after. Okay, so after the closing statements, Reverend Moreland and the First Congregational Church have arranged for coffee and cookies. And you're invited to mingle with the candidates. It's coffee, it's just coffee. So mingle faster. So with that, let's get started. The first question actually is rather town-based question, based on a conversation we had. Please tell us what your vision for the future of Norwalk is. Paint a picture. What would it look like after the first term in your administration?
Cool. Good evening, everybody. Thank you, Neighborhood Association, for showing up. Thank you, Mark. Thank you, Cameron. Cameron? Thank you for throwing these most useful questions again. The vision for Norwalk I have is embracing the fact that we're actually getting younger and having more young folk engaged in the civic engagement. I was not political prior to 2023, but a number of existential reasons kind of motivated me to be here today. That's an interesting question. Enough about that. 6 years from now, I'd like to see us engage in a board of selectmen expression of governance. I believe that if we're going to run the city like a business, that we're better off the board of directors than, say, a singular sort of buck stops here, patriarchal boss type, which looks friendly and extracting the job I'm applying for with you all right now. So that'll be a 6-year process. That'll require charter revision, a special charter revision to actually review some of the things. In this past winter, I did work with the Secretary of Police Department, in which I covered 100 different municipalities in Connecticut. I went with a rule which allows each municipality to determine how they like to govern themselves. We've been stuck with this mayor and same thing for about 100 years. I like most experiments. I don't think it's actually functioning. So that's my 6-year plan. But I need to get in. So in the next 2 years, what I plan on doing is using my 30 seconds real quick to actually generate more mixed income housing, facilitate local business, facilitate more commercial business. We need people to live and work and enjoy the amenities in our city. And that's going to take a couple of years. But get the kids involved. That's crucial. That's the future we're building for them. Thank you.
Tamara, thank you so much for hosting us, and to all the neighborhood associations for being here, and for everyone who's here and for submitting the questions. So I think the first thing that I would address, and my vision for Norwalk, is that we have better communication from the government to the people, from the people to the government. And I have to say, this is probably the most excited I've been for a forum, because we have folks here from the Norwalk Green Association, City Hall Association, East Norwalk Association, Wall Street Association, with many, many different ideas, opinions, and thoughts about where Norwalk should go. And so I think it's really important that we listen to each other, respect each other. And so, one of the ways that I would make sure to do that, and I've talked about this many times, is, the Mayor's Night Out going into the community, where bringing the whole staff and listening to you and engaging in what we want the city to look like. But in terms of that, we want to make sure that we're preserving our history as well as preparing for the future. And all of the young people who are so excited to be here. We want to make sure that we have arts and culture, we have parks and activities.
Moving forward in progressive manner to grow. I'm running because I want to represent the families that have been here for generations, been for so long, and have that sense of community that we keep talking about. That's so very important. But we need to progress and move forward and grow. We need to grow as a city. And my vision is to have a city where people can come to Norwalk, buy a home, put down roots, perhaps raise their family here, and stay here through the golden years comfortably. To have a start to finish home that people will stay. That's what has worked for generations in the past, that people have stayed here. But at this point now, we have so many seniors who struggle, we have families that are moving away, no longer afford to stay here. People are struggling, quality of life is diminished. We need to improve on that. So my vision in Norwalk is to have a community, a home where people put down roots, where they get involved in the community. And with that, we need a stellar school system. We need a top-notch school system. Measuring our school system's success against other overcrowded urban cities is not acceptable in my mind. This is that success. The direction of the city that goes with the direction of our school system. So we need to ensure that we have the best school system we can have in the state of Connecticut, or perhaps the country. We have the personnel to do so, and to have a community where people can stay, put their roots, make an investment, and enjoy their lives all the way through to the end, through the golden years. And just have a wonderful quality of life here in Norwalk is more important than anything. And sitting in a traffic light for 5 hours, definitely detrimental to your quality of life.
Okay, moving on. This question came from Norwalk Green Neighborhood. Many small business owners say that city regulations and fees make it hard to operate here. Others say strong oversight protects residents and neighborhoods. What's one regulation or fee you would look to change or eliminate, and why? And is there any potential downside to that change that you would be willing to list?
I do know that we have an onerous process for small businesses who are trying to start up. And in terms of like one specific regulation, I don't know that I would point to one specific one, but I do think we need to make the process easier. One of the ways we can do that, I talk about technology all the time, is through technology. We are in the process of moving in that direction, but as you might imagine, that takes quite a long time to enter all of that data. So we're in the process. I think, there have been a lot of ideas that have come to me. One thing that, in terms of getting small businesses up and running, and I think this is something new, I don't think that we talked about this, is putting the fire marshal into City Hall. So that, when those inspections need to be done, they can then quickly, right? I think that that's something I've heard a lot from small businesses, is they really struggle on getting those final inspections done. So digitizing our processes, possibly looking at that, moving that position into City Hall and making the process go much easier to get small businesses up and running.
Yes, many small business owners say that city regulations and fees make it hard to operate. Others say that strong oversight protects residents and neighborhoods. What is one regulation or fee that you would look to change or eliminate, and why? And is there any potential downside to that change that you would be willing to
As a contractor myself, I've dealt with a lot of neighboring towns, including it's pretty well. To that point, I don't plan to be that kick the can down the road there. It was mentioned before, efficiency. I know currently, I may touch on this later, Norwalk doesn't have an IT one, which all departments have suffered from. So definitely by far, building our IT department, filling all those vacancies, and being able to streamline forms and process, and just expediting that. I've found over the years, and we're up and running full capacity in the IT department.
Why not? That would be your next challenge.
Yeah, of course. So I found the council, I shared various energy and task force, spent a lot of years focusing on resident participated and involved in that solar program, spotlight connectivity. So that's what I did, and I found that solar provider was able to offer reduced rates to all residents, and at every sale they made, at every reduced rate, they'll receive a portion of that we then sent low-income children to the some program. And so, yes, to answer your question, yes, I think do it.
If elected, do you plan to continue Mayoral as green as the city? And then green as the city? Certainly, yeah, of course. I support that fully. I consider myself a strong environmentalist. That's one of the best parts of living in Norwalk, being part of Norwalk. Our parks, our green areas, we need to expand our green areas. One of the things I would advocate for is if we have any new development or any new buildings that we expand the amount of green space necessary to sustain those pieces of property. But I've said the same thing about this campaign. You can't claim to be the greenest city, be a green city, for concrete up to the floor, as we're doing on Water Street right now. We need to keep our waterfront clean, clear, accessible to the public, and pollution-free. So it's the best of our ability. So we are planting trees, which is wonderful, but I block the lane where everybody cuts down some very large trees. We may be cutting down very large trees. So, you have to live with what your words are. If you say you want to be a green city, you have to be a green city. Once from one end to the other, you can't have it both ways. We're going to be a green city, we need to stop building our long line. We need to ensure that we keep these trees that are here that took 50 years to grow. We have to ensure that we continue having places for the water to run off and soak into the ground. You can't keep pouring hundreds of tons of concrete and claim to be a green city. I'm sorry, that's my view, it's my opinion. So we need to steer more towards having a green city, and not just words, but in deeds and in actions. That's what's going to really maintain this green city status. That's very important. I want to think for green cities go. We are a green city, but I have to think that the air is cleaner in the middle of Vermont than it is in the middle of Manhattan. So everything involves around the direction the city is going. I believe that the more we become a green city as opposed to a community with green space, the more challenging it's going to be to maintain that green city, label. Thank you.
The answer is yes, absolutely. You don't see any lawn signs for me because I'm actually engaging in my ecological, consciousness. So I don't want to put more plastic into the world. For a long time, I thought there was many kinds of plastic stuff. I am sincere. I want to be green city, but I want to be for real. Not just some lip service and some job at Tesla, because, some people floater and all that. In reality, it's that's what I rectify the people with that. Everybody's very great. That would actually be what's realistic. I think one of the things we need to do is actually come to the greatest is we need to find funding for us to stay with the director, Jody Trevor, she has a 1-year contract. The city assumes that we can actually generate a functional, sustainable program in a year. It doesn't work that way. Things take time to grow. That's what it made then. We need more tree canopy within our inner city elements. The heat index is predicted was zero energy. And that will just kind of help not just the environment, but also the mental environment of people that have urban space. I'm from New York, Bronx, I live in Manhattan, and really we require that green national development. That was part of the whole oak tree, East Norwalk advocacy. It was inspiring to see like 60
and give up.
step up and protect the city or the tree. So yes, I will push the green to go forward. I believe at a large scale, we don't need to fill every square inch we have with housing. We definitely can use more public parks. Right now we have 100 Water Street that's going through permits. It's going to be I feel that in a perfect world that would be much better than that wetland park. And while we still preserve sure they're all involved in just the stuff trees and for the rent. Thank you.
Continuing to move to be the most sustainable, resilient city that we can be. And some of the ways that we have been doing this, and I'm committed to continuing, is to make Norwalk a more walkable, bikeable city, so that we're relying less on cars and more on public transportation. One of the things I talk about is possibly, advocating to re-electrify the Danbury line, the train line, and just getting people out of their cars and walking and biking. Increasing open space, increasing parks, absolutely. And that's another thing I talk about is community benefits agreements, where, you have a development going in, we need to require, those developers to add trees, to add those parks, to add accessibility for the community. Investment in tree canopy, that's something that we have done. We've gone from planting, 50 trees a year to several hundred trees a year. And one of the ways that I think that we can focus on the investment that is required is by hiring full-time grants, right? That's something that the city hasn't had. I know that each department does have their expertise in writing grants, and we have a coordinator, but there's so many grants out there that unless you're like in experience and looking to find them, you don't know how to do it. So I think that that's something important that can help us keep Jody Tender in her position and keeping us moving forward is to find those grants to continue moving us towards the green city.
It just sparked some things in my head. Like I mentioned before, we were very active as task force and task environment task force. And I felt, it's great that we're all doing good things and we're getting the cards for the engineers, all, setting an example of efficiencies with our development. They're efficient and getting awards, and that's great. So we're setting an example. And I felt in my time, organizing the task force and sharing getting the word to the public what's available to them, because there are a lot of state funded initiatives such as label swaps. You're bringing your SAT LEDs. We have hundreds of people show up. Solar panels and partnering with these solar panel companies and home efficiency programs. They seal up your windows, seal up your doors, and it's like $90. It's pretty much
Just one thing to say about, talk about it. So once again, words and actions and results. So we heard that developers are going to be required to have no pond. They decided it was authorized for 1.3 parking spaces. Now we're giving away City Street with parking to supplement the lack of parking for development. So once again, we have words, but the actions don't match these words. So now we're going to have Cemetery Street, we're going to have paid parking on our streets. We've given away public property to supplement the lack of parking in development. So, we're talking about do what we say we're going to do.
Not in the audience. Yes.
Yeah, just in terms of that Elkhorn project, just to clarify, those additional parking spots have been put into a lot of the businesses that were open there. So that people go to Sweet Ashley's, they're going to this, idea that there's a coffee shop, and it's new development. So that's why they're there. And also I do miss, just in terms of, there's a lot of hate for that project, right? But, it just to be, put the facts out there that, there is now public access to Mill Pond as a part of this project that was not there before. So I just wanted to put, just in terms of getting the facts straight.
I got a vote. It's like part of the vote, part of it. I fully agree. You grant writer. We need that a long time. Like, just because, let's say I'm good at, building codes, I'm good at specifically for that. The rest of our things is how the server, like the good management, not always the case. The cemetery project from why I'm here right now. There was a quasi-public access concept that was just standing parking lot. That was my favorite kind of piece spot, to be honest. But I watched as the development occurred, it sort of kill no box. That used to be a very legendary, we used to have migratory all the time. I know this because I walk my focus, I could walk my dog around the cemetery, the entire one side walls are developed. We're going to work. Yeah, it's really how we go.
what we're here to determine, and you guys are here to determine that. So, I'm tired of services developers, they're going to do no room to back it up. I want to see it on paper, and I want to see it on the street. Not just something that's going to get cut on some random Tuesday, in some meeting that nobody's paying attention to. I want to see real deal, ecological deals. Thank you.
Everybody got their second chance. This question is.
But I believe that businesses should take their own garbage. That's something that I actually agree with. I have business, you should have your own garbage pickup if you're going to, if you're having a business center. But I believe that, the Arts and Cultural Center of Norwalk should be on Wall Street. That's an excellent use for that, and we need to really make sure that that happens with the Wall Street that's growing there. But we need to look at the bigger picture as well, is that I would like to see, tourism increase in Norwalk. I'd like to rehabilitate and have a solar 2.0 is what I'm talking about, as far as bringing tourism back and incorporating with the maritime area. There's so many wonderful parts of Norwalk that are underutilized, and we should be able to link them together, make this a place, vacation destination for families to come here, weekends, you know, whatever we have hotels going up, we have a new hotel going up. We need to make sure that we foster growth our tourism aspect of it. So I believe supporting what's happening in Wall Street is incredibly important. It's a key part in making our city grow to the city that we want it to be and have it be a vacation destination or a destination in general. And I would love to see Wall Street come back and be the center focus point for our once again, where it was many years. So I fully support anything that's going to make this improvement happen. Freeze Park, I think I'd like to public input from the surrounding all four of these neighborhood associations to see what they would like to see in Freeze Park. It's a clean slate right now, so it's a wonderful opportunity to put something new, innovative, and something that I think I would like to get the opinion of the young people in our community, what they would like to see there. So I'd like to, have a lot of different meetings, get a lot of input, see what we can do. And it's a clean slate, it's a wonderful opportunity for us to do that. Thank you.
Wall Street. I've been in support of Wall Street as a for a reason. Because I spent 11 years on Wall Street, working or living or combination to sometimes a couple jobs. I believe the growth of Norwalk is entirely and fine for the growth of Wall Street. It will be the tourist mecca. We have hotels going up. I talked to Jason, talked to other people and business owners that are known for years, some of whom I work for. And as we discussed today, Wall Street's going to keep us alive. So, the conservatory is an excellent unit. They are growing. He has a air academy in East Norwalk. So the reality is, like I said, the growth of Norwalk is entirely counted with Wall Street and a lot of city whatever. Oh wait, I got you. Urban collection again was speak on in terms of the arts. Obviously, the church was going to build it. Shout out to East Hall for actually awesome shows. And the library is absolutely essential. It's the only great place that we get to go and not spend money. And also, it's a cultural milestone for everybody. I'm glad that things were that part. I don't know about that later, but that's the case. We will actually, you know, what do we do kind of grow expand that because it is a essential element for civil society for jail. Thank you.
Would you mind repeating the question?
Sure. As mayor, how will you address key Wall Street neighborhood priorities, including supporting the arts community, revitalizing Freeze Park, advancing the library expansion, and tackling drug addiction?
Yeah, so I think the revitalization of Wall Street is one of the most, it is probably the most exciting thing going on here in Norwalk, right? We've waited a long time for this. So I've been a huge supporter of the arts, the music scene, the arts and cultural scene in Norwalk, here at Wall Street. But, you know, it extends beyond, you know, I just want to make sure the arts and cultural district, it does extend beyond Wall Street. So that's something I'm really proud of, is how we supported the arts and cultural district. And, you know, Reese Park, I think that, you know, the music that we do in the summertime there is a really fabulous thing that draws people in and creates community. And I think that's really what it's about, what we're really seeing in Wall Street, is that a community really feels supported and coming back after many, many years. As to the library expansion, I think what we really need is a campaign, and to fundraise to support a new library, because we've got to do it. And so I'm really committed to doing that, looking at, you know, how we can work with the board to initiate a capital campaign. And what else? There was another question that I wanted to make sure that I addressed. But, you know, really, so again, back to supporting small businesses. You know, I was just at the drag queen brunch at 429 this morning, which was just a really fantastic thing, working together with Blanca next door at Kohl's, and that's another thing that creates a lot of fun and energy. You know, there's so many questions that we're going to and just on the historic aspect, you know, combining that, you know, arts, culture, parks with the history of Norwalk and celebrating it.
From the training is recently something with this. Okay, so first the library, it's not just about the books anymore. My kids go to the libraries all the time. It's cultural. It's learning experiences. There's it's not what how we all to anyone my age or older. It's not what we think of the library. So I'm all for supporting the library. Wall Street, we could have done a lot more. I think the last contribution the city did for Wall Street was the first in Eagle Park. It's basically which obviously a couple of things just makes no sense. It makes sense to be then, it makes sense to be now. First thing when I say Wall Street is collaborating with the Bristol 90 plus it's going to be inside Jason with unusual situation the city's in, it's doing great things down there. It's kind of just flourished on its own. I give all the credit. So, from my perspective, having one person be the go-to person to deal with, you know, with one of these properties, I think that we all will be pretty much running the Wall Street Association, so we have to hear the voice of everyone. So I think that's a benefit to us. We're just garbage. If elected, I will roll back the garbage for at least hold public hearings with people who should be given the option to weigh their options. Because, you know, when you go private, you have the costs and you have the logistics around, you know, the company, paying, scheduling, and so forth. I think people should be given the opportunity to know what the cost differences were. It's pretty simple. And as far as the extra garbage can is concerned, I think there's conditions put in place if you're a family of 3 or more that should be that person should get a free garbage can. That's something if we had a tea department, through my phone here. Everybody that wants to stay hopeful in the opposite, bring 19 people to set up something on the website, prove that you have free, you get a garbage. Thank you. Anyone? Okay. Moving on.
Train crosses 4 roads, sounding horns 3 times at each crossing. That's 12 times, 27 trains a day, for a total of 324 train horns at about 85 distance. Plus the freight trains that run. Can Norwalk work to create a quiet zone to reduce noise strain on area residents on both sides of the Norwalk?
So I remember somebody, I'm not particularly a church person about training this, but I know many people are. I feel like that question comes from stability. I've been asked the exact same question before. And I know for a fact that they actually have a plan to make it happen, as I understand it, correct? It is not extremely expensive. There are things you can get from MTA to put it up, so you don't have to do it with the street. And sort of, of course, the factories and things there all the time in that, so I definitely understand certain things don't like. So I do believe there's a solution for it, and it's actually now a it's a cost effective one, and, since that established needs, since they have perspectives, as well, we need all questions out of us, but, we are beneficial that we actually have actually 4, train stations in this town. There's a possibility for a fifth on Wall Street, out there, it's how much we really but yeah, I'm down for their own purpose. We have,
Yeah, I do generally support bikes with the train horns, but I would really want some kind of 100% guarantee from Metro North that they have the technology to assure safe crossings. That's the little bit of a sticker there for me, because, when I was growing up in Mountain, I grew up in a little Hawaiian town, and we had trains that ran right through town. And we had safety crossings, but, a family got stuck on the train, or stuck on the tracks, and the family was killed. So that's the kind of thing that doesn't leave a person, right? So, while I absolutely support the quiet zone, how can they ensure that those train crossings are going to function 100% of the time? I would want some kind of assurance. That's my.
For example, I thought about 10 years ago, one of our CBS on Route 7, going back towards the Silver Line. Train here was 1 foot. Wasn't the arms weren't down, there were no lights, they were trying to get trees. That's my first thought. I mean, this is an issue. I live somewhat close to the train station. You could hear rolling along at night. It's when it's cold out, noise travels obviously further. So it is an issue. So as mayor, I plan to go as far as flying suit, working with Metro North, working with the state, see if there's any state or federal funding to address the issue. I would like to learn more about it. I mean, honestly, I'd like to hear from people that live close by and see what can be done and address it best I can. Thank you.
I'm torn on this one. So I live in the West Rocks area, on the Illinois West Rocks School, and the Danbury line to support about 7 minutes after 6 every single morning. A very steep lane, it's perfect race jam. I can do it all the way up. So I do really recognize it is an issue, but this is a large mission in the city of Norwalk. We really have to, it really is an issue that's concerning our residents here. We should work closely with that board, see where we can solve the problem. Where safety is always paramount, we have to make sure that everyone's safe and be able to get trained car on Street a couple years ago. So I don't think any of us on this panel have a real good answer to that. Could be, increase the lighting accessibility and light beams down the track perhaps. But we have to have some type of notice of this training across the tracks. I think Tom Street, I don't know how many people has a norm comes down. But we can certainly, increase the way to block the road so you don't accidentally get hit by a train. It's a difficult one, but it really means an awful lot of people in the community we have to work together to solve it. I believe any problem can be solved if you put your heads together and really see it through to the end. And I think we could be able to do that.
And
just to answer your question again, I'm pretty certain that the Connecticut Department of Transportation actually has this program set up. Again, based on compensation as sustainable street people. In regards to this, they have all the information and it's doable. The reality is that as mayor, we can only kind of suggest that we have to touch upon our first bring it, to us. So we're really working with our delegates, Connecticut Department of Transportation on a higher level. Again,
a lot of projects came before us and before the planning and zoning commission. And projects that we knew that weren't difficult, that yet it complied with zoning. There was always a fear of not fighting because of legalities surrounding. And I always felt we were too weak on that stance. Yeah, I mean, I can get into the Norwalk Corporation Council and that or not. But I will say, we're quick to give up. We're quick not to fight these fights with fear of facing the repercussions of the time of the effort. And like I said, I don't know if ONG complies with their legal rights to continue on as an asphalt plant. I would plan to do that with this, but in general, I've seen a lot of projects that shouldn't be there right now because Norwalk doesn't really, we don't want to take on the fight. That's something I can't change. And
I just have a couple of things, you know, these were, the Walk Bridge decisions were done long before I was on the council, I knew John was on the council. And so I think, you know, fighting off Mayoral is something that we absolutely have to do moving forward. But, you know, some of the things that I'm thinking about, we may touch upon this in another question, if there's something about the East Avenue study, but, you know, I'm thinking of the Harbor Loop Trail. I do want to point out that the state of Connecticut is paying to do a portion of the Harbor Loop Trail underneath the highway as a concession of the Walk Bridge project. But I also think that if we boost the Harbor Loop Trail up here closer to Wall Street, and sort of close in on the ONG site with you know, more walkable space, more, you know, a more extensive Harbor Loop Trail, where the only part of it comes from ONG, you know, that's going to make it harder for them and harder for the Harbor Commission to approve any further plans. And also, you know, more water activities, more rowing clubs, more things that make it harder for ONG to come back.
Based on the time, this is the last question. The specific question came from the Wall Street neighborhood, more or less, but this reflects what came from all of the neighborhoods, so it's probably a good question to wrap on. There's a perceived lack of transparency and community inclusion in a lot of the decisions that are being made in terms of development and the things that you've talked about tonight. Will you commit to enhancing transparency and community inclusion, and specifically how, and this will go to Mr. Cuddy's first.
thank you. It's so frustrating to have big items on the agenda that I'm speaking my time on council. The budget, for instance, decides everyone's mill rates, and decides, you know, your quality of life, and there would be no one in the audience, or maybe two. The Diane's, but the Diane's right there. And it's sad that people aren't engaged. I understand, people are busy, people have lives, it's nice to see so many people here today, but I found in my time on the council, first of all, it's like, I forgot to tell everyone I knew what the council actually was, and, you know, I was said, you know, why don't you know this? And they would say, well, I'm just, you know, on my road, nicely paid from here to work, you know, my tax is low, and I don't care about any of the other stuff. And then you have that group that wants to be involved, wants to communicate, and if they know, they spread the word in the world. I think what the city has done and continues to do the best they can as far as communicating. We're in the information age, we have access to many different outlets for information, which is great. But I think we can do more. I think what that can be, I mean, there was Mayor's Night Out. I mean, that happened for a few months, and then it just dwindled, and then 3 months later, no one was there. So we've racked our brains on how we better improve communication between the city and the residents, and it's not a fight. I don't think anything can go up here, but I think we need to maybe think outside the box on how we do that, especially items. I'm just going to tell you 30 seconds. Press, for the most part, is not existing in Norwalk. I mean, I'm on the council, press fighting over. Now I can stand the cutbacks, I can stand my presses as involved money, publication, funding. I get it. I think it's, you know, for being here, but at the end of the day, you're not getting the press coverage. So these things are happening before you even know that they are. Thank you.
Transparency is one of the foundations of my campaign, the lack of transparency. What's come from the lack of transparency is in a lot of cases, a complete broken trust between the residents of this community and City Hall on so many levels. If anybody's attended the last several board meetings, you'll see that that's quite evident. And once you've broken trust, it's very difficult to get that back. But that is my pledge as mayor. I'm going to bring that back. I'm going to start from square one. Whereas any plans, programs, anything that's coming down the road will be available for review before we start the planning process, so people know what's coming after. My administration will strengthen the neighborhood associations as an important key element to make sure that there's information is around, is for everyone to see and view. I'll use for example, a template of failure. Let them fight it. And I will say that it's very difficult to fight City Hall. It's about time we understand that we need to change City Hall. So when that first point we got put down that street, we were talking about fixing the drainage. The complete plans should have been available to everyone in the street. They were going to get sidewalks, and this is what was going to happen. And it did not happen. The easy residents fighting for what they want their street to look like, what they want the neighborhood to look like. It's backwards. It should be the other way around. People should be telling us what they want to see in their neighborhood, what they want to see in their community. We've gone off the rails with these committees of deciding what your neighborhood should look like. We need to get back to the way it used to be. And we can do that, and I'm going to do that. Because I'm going to make sure every piece of information possible is available in easy to read, easy to see manner, so that you know what's happening before the city spends $1 on making plans for a program, nobody wants.
Quickly, cap on the question. Physical transparency. Transparency. I think we're all agreeing that we need more transparency. If you ever try to deal with the website, it is basically obtuse and very difficult to engage. If we have folks engaging our citizenry in more effective civic engagement, basically like why I'm here talking to you all, we need to access the info. We need to update our website for 21st century. Top of line 2009, not having today. We attach that because of that. I mean, the reality is if I get 100 texts popped up asking for money, I'm sure you can utilize the contact service to actually, inform people of street knowing that's going on in the street. The letters are coming over East Norwalk, crossing the million after it was done. It's just not fine. So we need more access and accessibility to facilitate transparency. From that, we also need to educate the constituency on how to engage better. And with that, that will facilitate participation. At least that's a theory on that. So yeah, first step would be the IT department updating just our messaging to the 21st century. It was resident parking pass. It was last Tuesday. I don't know about it because there's a little blur in the hour that just kind of gave notice. A lot of people know that because we couldn't find it. We need to move to the 21st century. We need to actually have a crystal clear communication with the constituency. If we're going to go harmoniously,
First of all, thanks to Nancy on Norwalk for being the only media we really have here in Norwalk. We really appreciate what you do. We all do. And yeah, long gone are the days that we picked up the hour and read every single decision that was made and every meeting that was coming up. And so we have to make up for that. And I talked about this in quite a lot of we're going to say, sorry, I got to hear it again. So first off is to invest in the city website to make it easily navigable and so that you can easily find information that you need. Two, again, with the community outreach is the mayor's night out, engaging with the community. But also, I just think we need to do community engagement differently than we have. And what I'm thinking about right now is the difference between coming up with our master parks plan versus management center. Master parks plan, it asks people to write down all their ideas. What would you like to see? And put it out on board and then, call ideas from that. Rather than the memories, the communication was like, what do you think of this? What do you think of that? And so lots of rumors started to fly because people thought that's exactly what they were going to do. So we need to change the way we do community engagement and get your ideas first. I think that, my vision is that this is going to be, a resident, my administration to be resident driven. What would you like? And let's work on it together. So that's one thing. Also, I think we really do need to regain trust. The communications has been an absolute debacle. It's already been referred to what happened here with the Lockwood project, a horrendous debacle, and it could have been, it could not happen if we had proper communication and proper community engagement. So, same thing with the tree, we haven't heard yet, but we're still working on, trying to find a way to save that tree down in East Norwalk. So communication is key, and I am committed to improving.
A quick rebuttal on that comment. I remember nothing ever being malicious on the council, like information was held back to keep the public like that's the for us has transitioned to, it still exists, the publication is still there. It's more of a copy and paste press release. So if we can maybe perhaps the city work directly with whomever's at the hour, the Connecticut Post and so forth, but incorporate all these hardworking people on these neighborhood associations to choose what they feel the public needs. Because 90% of it, humans don't know that many are in their park, but something of significance if the garbage change, big development, a zoning change, things that, that the neighborhood associations are attracted to. And then have a collaboration with the city to say, okay, this is important enough. We're going to send this to the press, and Ryan will actually get something out there. Eric, do you have something?
Yeah, well, the reality is that we can be transparent, but everybody has to show up. It's also on the constituency. It's not just them or me, if I get, or anybody doing that. You don't show up, you don't get a say. It comes down to that basic. I understand it's difficult to know what's going on, so we're going to do whatever we can to kind of rectify that. I just want to give a shout out to Norwalk Green. It's actually a very good organization that trains leads to understand how the city works to a certain degree. And I know that they're looking to do more significant programs in the future, assuming the material has funding, which actually very good problem. But yeah, it's a two-way, all communication is. And if we need to keep it crystal clear to the best of our ability, we'll always get work, we'll always get lost information. But as long as it basically saying that he's working video, it said garbage in, garbage out. Poor video quality, best I can do is being polished. So we need to maintain crystal clear communication that people need to show up, period.
Yes.
Pretty quick. I want to turn Norwalk to the days when every day there was an issue, controversy, people putting signs in the front yard, people arguing, hundreds of people showing up. I want to turn you off to the city that I remember where people didn't know City Hall existed. That's the peace, that's the calm, that's the community that I remember that I like to bring back. We have to return to that because what's happening is also resulting in a very divisive, divided community, which should never happen in this wonderful city we have, always wonderful. Thank you.
Okay, so that's the end of our questions. Barbara, thank you for the public financing Norwalk. As long as I've got the podium, I'll add my own events here in Norwalk as a nonprofit. It's the only news outlet that focuses solely on Norwalk. We can't do it without all of you. So please send us tips, send us leads, send us information, send us money. We appreciate all the forums. So now we're on to the closing remarks. 2 minutes, please. Or would be Mr. Shapano, Mr. Kaiser,
Hey, well, I'm ready for Mayor Mayoral very simple reason. I want to represent everyone in this community, from one end of the political spectrum to the other, from one end of the economic level to the other. Whatever you do, if you call Norwalk home, we're representing first. I want to make sure that all of our residents are taken care of, or have a good quality of life, that we're taking care of our senior citizens. I want to ensure that we have the best school system we can possibly have. I want to represent working families, people that are struggling, especially families that are figuring out how to put their kids through college, how to pay their heating bill, anything that affects the quality of life. But I'm here to represent the people of this community first. I'm not here to represent Hartford, I'm not here to represent Washington, I'm not here to represent developers, I'm not here to represent corporations. I'm here to represent your best interests, each and every one of you in this room. And that's my goal, that's why I'm running for mayor. That we have a community agenda, that an administration that allows how you want your community to be. What you want your neighbor to be, that you are in control of that. And, you know, this has been a lovely evening, I can thank everybody for how fantastic and cordial, and I have tremendous respect for my three opponents here, I really do. But I will say, if anybody wants to see direction of who we want to represent first, I urge everyone to look at campaign finance. Please do that on your own, investigate yourself, and see, you know, where we're at as far as representation goes in the world. I'm here to represent all of you, all of my campaign finances come from local, and all workers, except for my kids' got parents who live in the town. But that's what I'm trying to do. I just want to represent you first, and I want to be the ears and execute what you want to see done in this community. And I'm here to listen, and make sure I get it done to build the city that you would like it to be. Thank you.
Thanks, Mr. Cotting. For the reason is that I'll be this is the last debate before the election. I want to recap policies. Because I do actually intend to follow through with every one of my campaign promises. I have not put any promises, chosen my words very closely. Most of you have probably heard how I should address the major issues that the majority of our workers feel that need to be addressed first, which being school funding, stopping high property tax increases, and addressing. I made those details known. Just a quick recap in the short time I have. The rest of the push to increase the funding on school, take pressure on the taxpayer, and pause the problem development, catch up on infrastructure improvements, and through urban revitalization. Now it's time, I just want to talk about some of the other policies you may have missed, but are equally important. So do I promise to relax parking enforcement to get Norwalkers visiting areas that would otherwise not? Yes. Do I promise to set aside parks revenue to improve our ball fields? Yes. Do I promise to restructure Norwalk's economic and community development department to set the basic positions to bring in new companies? Yes. Streamlining efficiency at City Hall to reverse the disconnect between departments? Yes, I do. Put all the regulating under one, maximize funding? Yes. Will I bring in state and federal funding to increase affordable housing for 30 seconds? Yes, I will. These are not false promises. Man of my word, I'll do it like mayor. And I will say, I believe I'm the only team who address all of these issues and have the experience to get it done. And once again, thank you all for coming out and this meeting.
Thank you again for everyone being here tonight, the Neighborhood Association, Nancy on Norwalk. I'm running to be your mayor because I care about the city of Norwalk, I care about you, and I genuinely believe that I am the most qualified candidate. I have the most experience as a member of the Common Council, council president twice, chairing key committees, so I work deeply with city staff, and I know how the city runs. Also, I've been a teacher in our public schools. I know I really want to end this between the Board of Education and the Common Council, between, you know, the parents. So I really want to, and I'm committed to doing that, and I have to do that by chairing the Board of Education in a way that we collaborate and bring each other together and ask difficult questions that make it happen. I want to talk about, because we're here in this community with these neighborhood associations, I want to talk about, balancing historic preservation and the vision for the future. We talked about that a lot tonight. Growth should be intentional and it should honor the cultural and historic feel of the neighborhoods in which there is growth happening. I will continue to support our small businesses, to grow our small businesses and large businesses so that we build our brand list and we decrease taxes for you, make it easier to live here, make it easier to get it more affordable. I really believe in these difficult times, we need an experienced leader with grit, determination, and compassion to lead Norwalk forward and to lead a resilient, sustainable city for future generations. I'm dedicated to using every bit of my energy and my skills to making Norwalk stronger every day. I'm Barbara Smith, and I'm asking for you to vote for me for mayor.
Thank you, Mark. I appreciate it. I'm the last again. It happens when your last name is spectacular, be victory, or victory, or vote for me. Yeah. But I'm not gonna tell you what I'm policy. I realize that I almost always screw one of my qualifications to be in a situation and to attempt to lead a very diverse community in our harmonious way. In school, for film and literature, I was television at Boston College, and I worked out in the film industry for a number of years, and I basically acquired the skill set as a director in that sense. And I feel that though it's the entire industry, a lot of the functionality of that position, what's required of this administration is that the director doesn't particularly always handle the hiring. They oversee the cohesive vision and have their appropriate departments and people play their role. I mean, German Road is about 300 people. That's basically what we got right now at City Hall. Back in the day, when I was doing other things, we did that done with Max Webb. I was the logistics director for $1 million weddings and warehouses before the 2008 drop. We all know. So I look to engage in like my previous experience that I was largely 13 years and we have that. We try to bring 400 people together. Harmoniously, it's a lot easier to talk the table now. And that's what I'm looking for, a different perspective than our conventional sort of career politician. I am not from here, I'm from this Louisville, I choose to stay here. I'm a renter. A lot of times we get a transit, that's not entirely the case, that people right here. Some of us rent for the privilege not to. So I'm here for that. I'm here for the renter. I'm here for those that make less than $100,000 a year that are cost per in almost every capacity. I gotta stop. But anyway, y'all can check me out. Football Wall Street on Instagram, you can find my messaging. I don't have a website. I'm not a web master. I'm seeing you in person. Bye.
You've all been really good, so now the
So I to make sure